Charles, we just recorded for 2 hours.
We did.
Now what do you want?
We have to talk about our show.
Okay.
Who are we and what do we do?
I am Martha Madrigal.
And I'm Charles Tyson Jr. We are the hosts of Full Circle,
The podcast.
You are a beautiful white trans woman.
I will take that. Of a certain age and tired beyond imagination. And you are a gorgeous black cis pan man who has shared my life for 10 years.
And we're engaged. I put a ring on it.
Yeah, you did put a ring on it. It's a pretty ring, too.
Now we have a podcast.
Yeah, there's not much we don't talk about here.
It's true. We talk about LGBTQ issues, headlines of the day. We talk about fun things too, like movies and music and television and pop culture.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about what it is to be black in America and what it is to be trans in America and how those things intersect and collide. And
child, it gets interesting. And you can check us out every Tuesday wherever you get your podcasts. Because once again, we're Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal, and this is Full Circle, the podcast.
Are we done now?
I think so.
Okay.
You're only given a little spark of madness.
Followed Mr. Carpenter. What he saw couldn't have been a dream. It was too real. But it couldn't have been true either. It was too deliciously frightful.
Frank, that's yesterday. Old times are only good when you've had them.
Night after night, all alone. Daddy's all pent up. Let's freak.
Irrational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What's going on, everybody? It is Brett Parker from the Dissect That Film podcast, and I am here to talk about a little movie from 1985 called Return of the Living Dead. This movie is now available on Tubi, and I had to check it out. I had never seen it before. I know. It's crazy, especially for someone who says they're a horror fan. But I finally checked it out, and boy, was this movie an absolute blast. Now, this is a movie that links itself up to the 1968 Night of the Living Dead from George A. Romero, but it's not part of the Living Dead trilogy that Romero was doing at the time. This actually came out the same year as Day of the Dead. So it was competing with each other. But we have an original writer from Night of the Living Dead and an actor who played in the beginning of the movie, played Johnny if you remember Night of the Living Dead, the guy in the cemetery who has to fight off the zombie and he ends up losing. He becomes a writer for Return of the Living Dead. Now, the man behind the screenplay and the director's chair is none other than Dan O'Bannon, the man who created the Alien franchise. He is the one who wrote the original script and came up with the beautiful ideas for the xenomorphs and the alien world as we know it. He would go on to write that, the original from 1979. So this is his directorial debut, and this would be the end of Dan O'Bannon as a director. Like it was a one and done thing. It's wild because this movie is so well done, from the production value to the effects to just the performances. I thought they were all so fun. There were some performances that were kind of wacky, but I think for mid 80s, I'm okay with it. But as I stated, Dan O'Bannon, one and done as a director, which is just blows my mind. This movie would spawn a few sequels down the road. Some good, some not so good. Some I haven't even checked out yet. But going through the cast, we have Clu Gallagher as Bert. These are main characters, of course. We have James Karen as Frank. We have Don Calfa as Ernie. Tom Matthews of Friday the 13th fame as Freddy. We have Beverly Randolph as Tina. Miguel A. Nunez Jr., who is another Friday the 13th alum, as Spider. We have John Philbin as Chuck. Jules Shepard as Casey. Brian Peck as Scuzz. And horror legend Linnea Quigley as Trash, who in this movie bears it all. Not just going topless. This woman bears it all. And we have to applaud a fantastic performance. Literally, Linnea Quigley has to act completely naked for the majority of her screen time. And the funny thing is it's not overly sexualized. It just happens, and you're just there for the ride. And her performance is just like, she just doesn't give a shit about what is going on. And you always got to applaud that. Hopefully everything behind the scenes was good with that. I don't know per se, but Linnea Quigley is a legend for a reason. Uh, for one, she's fantastic, and two, she had no problem bearing it all for the camera. We had Mark Venturini as Suicide and Jonathan Terry as Colonel Glover. And then I guess I'll shout out his wife too, Kathleen Cordell as Ethel Glover. So yeah, this movie is batshit crazy. It pretty much is the events of Night of the Living Dead are based on real life. So like the movie is a true story of Night of the Living Dead. And so these two guys that work at a medical supply warehouse, they have to, they're doing their job, but the other guy, the older guy, Bert, he's going to go down and show his new young employee, Freddie, oh, hey, those zombies, all the undead that was happening based on that movie? Well, I got him downstairs. Let me show you. And he shows him, and all hell breaks loose as a deadly gas fills the air, pretty much awaking the entire undead. And it is just absolute chaos from there on. Like I said before, performances are top notch. This is a movie from the 80s. This is a horror movie from the 80s. This is a zombie movie from the 80s. So performances, they can be all over the place. But to be honest, everyone is on par with each other. I think you do have your sort of stereotypical 80s like punkers. So you have like Scuzz and Trash. Like I said, Linnea Quigley and Brian Peck, those are like those two, like they're the punk rocker guys, but they're like so like out there. But like if you watch like the same year, this is when Back to the Future came out, so you kind of had those same type of characters. But you know what? It didn't take you out of the movie. I think they're fun. They're silly. Sometimes you can laugh at them. But it's just the sheer terror. Like it's not a comedy, even though there are some comedic parts to this. You have some beautiful effects in this movie that just they rival the Dead movies. The Night of the Living Dead trilogy that Tom Savini had done so much work on. So the fact that they were able to get those same effects is absolutely insane. So yeah, I think this is a movie. If you're a horror fan and you haven't seen it, like me, who took way too long to see it, I highly recommend it. It is a fun as hell movie that from when everything kind of hits the fan, it's non-stop from there until the very end, which, to be honest, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the ending is a surprise, not what I was expecting. And I'm really happy I was able to go into this movie not spoiled, even though this movie is as old as it is. To go into it not spoiled, it's absolutely wild. And we know why this movie continued to get sequels, because on a $4 million budget, it made almost $15 million for the 80s. That's pretty good, because I can guarantee this movie wasn't pushed as much, especially since it was competing with another Of the Living Dead movie, or it was Of the Dead movie. As I stated before, Day of the Dead from George A. Romero came out the same exact year. But hey, it's wild stuff. Check it out on Tubi before it disappears. And yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this quick old review. And I'll see y'all again next time. Bye.
You were just listening to the Film Spark podcast. For all your film needs and more. Like what you heard? Give us a shot. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, GoodPods and more. Or follow the socials at film_spark_pod. You know what? Just follow us on everything. Check out the link tree. linktr.ee/filmsparkpod. Find us, follow us, give us a shout. We always want to hear from you.
You're still here?
It's over. Go home. Go.